Welcome to today's online web session on the topic of how can I document IT landscapes, keep them up to date, and detect changes. My name is Alex Aschauer and I work in business development at Berkshire.io. For today's web session, I was able to win over our head of development, Fabian Scholze, on your right, and our CTO, Matthias Scholze, on your left. Today, we would like to show you an approach to automatically document and update your IT landscape and make changes transparent. Please note that this web session will be recorded. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat and we will answer them at the end of the web session. And now the stage is set for Fabian and Matthias.
Thanks a lot, Alex, for the introduction and a warm welcome from my side as well. When we talk about documenting IT landscape, the first step is to understand the motivation and goals for doing so. After all, the creation of documentation always requires efforts. Documentation is an information base that enables you to analyze, verify, report. We do all this to gain knowledge and make decisions. For typical business process in the area of IT service management, governance, risk and compliance, or information security management systems, we need data that is essential for process execution. Efficient and automated execution is not possible without a digital information base. The access of your employees to internal company knowledge is based on the existence of documentation. Here you also isolate head monopoles, which represent a business risk. And last but not least, a certification or audit without existing documentation should be difficult to pass. What are the requirements for documentation? It should be complete and correct. Please check each integrated data source in order to achieve your operational goals with the data. Secondly, the data should be up to date, as you do not want to make decisions based on outdated data. The update rate is usually depend on a specific asset or configuration. And thirdly, the data should be processable for you as a human user as well as for computers. As a user, I would like to be able to read storage volumes as giga or terabytes, for example. However, if I want to aggregate the storage volume and the analysis, then I find it easier to process byte information. So, what are the challenges of documentation? I have yet to meet a staff member who likes to document. I think they all feel that way. The lack of motivation and monotonous documentations of mass data often leads to poor data quality during collection. And this reduces confidence in the data so that potential users collect it separately for their own purpose. The effort required for manual documentation is very time-consuming. Many clients complain about a lack of staff. Perhaps it's time to make better use of resources. And the documentation at a high rate of change, especially in a cloud environment, is not manageable. And they probably won't be surprised that automation is the right solution here. We solve the challenges and create advantages for ourselves. Saves the working time of your employees for the preparation of documentation and information procurement. Surveys show that employees spend 20 to 30% of their working time searching for necessary information. Make better decisions with more objective data and automate IT processes on the base of qualitative and up-to-date inventory data. In life, not everything is always voluntary. Organizations and business that are considered critical to the maintenance and society are subject to regulatory requirements. In Germany, we have the BaFin. It's a Federal Financial Supervisor Authority here in Germany. And this organization clearly defines the regulatory requirement for IT document that IT systems must be inventoried and kept up to date. There are similar requirements for all companies, all countries, and other sectors that are classified as critical infrastructures. You may have noticed the term digital twin in the headline. I want to go into that again. This is an approach from the industrial production of technical products, for example, turbines or manufacturing plants. A digital twin is an image of the real world in a digital representation. It enables the analysis and the verification of the real world without direct access to it. In the first step, the asset and configuration data on the real object is captured and stored in the model of the digital twin. This can be, for example, all components of its environment at a cloud provider. Now you can use the data of the digital twin for your analysis, simulations, optimizations, etc., without accessing and influencing your real cloud components. This could be, for example, the review of your product release, patch, and end-of-life state, or the identification of product versions with known security vulnerabilities. Based on the result, you can then change the desired changes in the real object, for example, your cloud by means of a change request. For example, you could provide for an update of the operating system version. The metaphor of the digital twin helps us to better clarify the interaction between the real world and the inventory of digital documentation. What can be inventoried in a company? The classic inventory is the infrastructure. Many people certainly still know this under the term of CMDB. Of course, container and cloud platforms have been added here in recent years. It is very exciting to extend this approach to the application level. Some may already know this from application performance monitoring sector. The processes on the host, the services provided by the processes, and the associated application are recorded. Compared to the application performance monitoring, we can monitor additional text-based artifacts. This include, for example, SSL certificates, file configuration of web app database server, or database schema. This way, you can enrich your infrastructure or your APM monitoring. On the client side, we can inventory the user activities, the user and devices, and the installed software of those devices. However, there are additional areas that are useful to inventory. This includes, for example, identity management with the users and authorization it contains, or business objects. Especially for identity data, the detection of changes is particularly important for compliance. And before we get to the live demo, I'll hand over the stage to Fabian, who will explain you the technical requirements for inventorying the asset and configuration of a landscape with Virtual.io. Fabian, your stage.
So thanks, Matthias, for introduction. We are using different methods to inventory the IT landscape, and probably the most important area for our customers are the host computers on which their application systems are running. For this, the one importer must be installed on all related hosts. So the one importer is a system component by us, and it's working like a monitoring agent. So you have to install it, and after installation, it collects all details about the host itself, the processing running on that host, and the services provided by these processes. So the next method we use is our one gate. So for third-party systems, we don't need one importer on all hosts. So we just need one gate that is able to address the third-party system on network. And most times we need some authorization like an API token or user password combination. So the third method is that that Virtual can also inventory processes in the form of business processes, workflows, or batch processes. And for business processes, the integration is usually done via database or REST API calls. So workflows and batch processes are integrated by executed a command line, a command, and it's really short. Most times it's just a one-liner like a curl command. So we integrate data from all of that, and that powers our solutions we provide with Virtual.io.
Thanks, Fabian. So I hope we have given you the basics and conceptual insights into how we do things at Virtual.io. Now we would like to show you in the live demo how easy it is to inventory an exemplary IT landscape consisting of a virtualization environment and a container-based test application. Keep it up to date.
So let's start. Now you should see our Virtual.io platform, and we are right here in an empty environment, so there's nothing inside. And to get something inside, we first have to install our one importer. So we can go into our settings and say we want to install a one importer, and therefore we have a little wizard. So we can say what we want to do. And we want to do an one importer. I select some modules we activate, so we have some more data to look at. So we want to install it on a Linux machine. And what we have to do is we have to download it, install it, and start it up. So we already downloaded the installer, so we can save some time. We just have to take the startup command, it's just one line, and just paste it into our console so we are logged into a Linux machine here. So we will just start it, and that's it. We can go back to Virtual.io, and now we should see that there's a one importer that is connected to this environment. And what we have to do now is, for security reason, we have to authorize it again from the server side. So we say, yeah, that's authorized, and we want to activate them. And now the one importer just starts working. So I can show you the configurations we provided them. So the host and process inventory is all done automatically without any configuration. But that we can show you some more data, we pre-configured some SSL certificate import. So it's just a list of domain names. We put in 5 domain names that will be imported in some seconds. And we just pre-configured our virtualization platform. So we have an example of a third-party solution. And here we just had entered our URL where we can access the virtualization platform, and for authorization we had to provide an API token. That's it. We don't have to do more, and for all other solutions, third-party solutions, it's most time the same. We just need some access point and authorization. So let's get back to our dashboard and see if our one importer just worked. Yeah, he just imported some data. So we already have 133 instances, and now we can take a look into them. So now we can see all our entities and the instances of that entities. So we imported the host itself, we imported the processes on the host, we already have imported some file configurations, services, and the 5 provided SSL certificates. As I said, we have also configured the virtualization platform. So we have entities and instances from the virtualization platform. We can see our cluster node, our cluster, which is provided by 3 nodes, and we have 16 VMs running on these 3 nodes. So let's get into details. I think one of the simplest one will be the host itself. So let's take a look. So now we see the current state of these hosts we just imported. So here in the top, it's the current state. You see we have some information about the system, about the hardware, about chassis, about the operating system, and so on. And if I extend all of these things, you see we have a lot of details about the host. So we try to capture all necessary things, so nothing is missing. At the bottom you can see, by example, we have the operating system with the version, and I will collapse this. So you can see at the bottom here will be started our timeline from this host. So all changes that will be made to this host will create an instance here and say at this time something changed. So we will see this later. So we will provide a change later so you can see this. On the right side here, now you can see that we have a picture of a topology. So in the middle is our host we are looking at. As you can see on the top, there's a process that is related to that host. So the process is running on that host. And on the bottom, you see this host has a relation to a virtual machine because that's a host that's running on that virtualization platform. And that are 2 different sources where we get the data from, but we connect all informations that have a relation between them. So we can jump into the full topology and can say, show me everything going down from our host. So that should be the virtualization platform. We can see our host is the VM of the node 1 and running on cluster Version. So we can go down, but we can even go up. So we say, let's see something more about running on that host. We see a process. It's a normal system process. And then you see there are Docker containers running on that host. So I can go even up more, and we see more processes running on the host. They are running in a specific Docker container, so we have the complete process tree running on that host. So now I will show you all. So we have we have the host, we have the processes, we have Docker containers, processes inside the Docker containers, and processes provide some services. And the services will merge into some application. So if I zoom out, you will see a complete application architecture that is automatically built by Version. So I will show you something on the right. Here we have an installed Nginx. It's a web server. And you can see we also connected the SSL certificate, which we imported to the specific service what is provided by exact this process. Also, we detected that this Nginx is started with a configuration file, and we can take a look into this configuration file. That that is described like the host. We have different things we can see here, and I would say we would change this configuration file so we can see a change here in some seconds. And before that, I would like to show you our data reporting. So that's a little solution where you have the possibility to get an overview about all instances of an entity. So for example, I take the SSL certificates, and you see we only have 5 until now. So I can say, show me all domain names from these 5. So, and I can say, okay, now I want to see how long are they valid. So I can see which one is the next one which get unvalid. Also, I can say show me the length of their key. So I see, oh, there's a different. Some SSL certificates use a much smaller key length, which is maybe not good for security reasons. So that is possible for all entities inside here. It's like a pivot table for small data reportings. So get back to our configuration file. So we changed nothing.
Yes, I did change it.
So we will wait just another second.
And show the product release and end of life status. So
for our inventory, we try to detect all technologies the processes are running. So because technologies and their versions are very important to detect, because most of our customers use products and have them running in different versions. And they don't even know it. So also we know something about the versions they use. So we can say they are using some application server from Apache, a Tomcat, and we can say, yeah, you're using version 10.0.21. And we can say, yeah, but there's a newer version that would be quite better to install, and it would not do breaking changes, so you can just update it. So
yes, it's available now. So changes there.
Now you can see it's changed. So Matthias just changed in the configuration file some parameter called gzip, and he put it off. I think it would, yeah, it was on before. So every change is detected automatically and will be in the timeline forever. So that's it about the documentation of IT landscape.
Okay, that means we did install our one importer. We integrate some 30-part systems via OneGate, and we centralize this information in a historized and topologized view here in version. And we can a lot of do with this data, but today the web session is only for as a automatic documentation topic, and that's why we make a break here today. Then let's jump over for Alex.
Yes, thank you very much, you too. Let's just summarize the most important points once again. The creation and updating of IT documentation can be automated to a large extent, and I think this is the most important point here, and saves us from unpopular personal work and also from poor quality. The central availability of this information saves staff time for information gathering, improves IT development and operation, and also increases security as no direct access to the systems is necessary. Topologies make the mass of information manageable and controllable. And if you have successfully established this part of IT inventorization, then you have something like a gold nugget of data, which the digital twin created in that way. You can support activities in other areas like IT service management, governance, compliance, risk, which will build up on these data, information service management systems, IT operations, and so on. I've seen we have already two questions in the chat, so maybe we could elaborate on these ones. Joseph asks what makes our solution unique in comparison with other tools in the market, like Lane Sweeper, Log Inventory, or even an integrated platform like ServiceNow. Matthias, do you want to answer this one?
Yeah, sure. The most important point is that we have an easy detection mechanism with one importer, and we have the possibility for a real full stack inventory. That means we go from the infrastructure stack and the application stack, and we go in the client stack. That means we can inventory the activities of users, the devices, the software that they user use on the machine, and other things. We call that full stack. Yeah. Topology means that we bring all things together. You see it, Fabian shows us the topology, and it combines information from the application in our use case and from our virtualization platform. And other features are that this is only the first step of Virtual.io, that you use the asset and configuration inventory. And on the Outlook, on the right side, you see topics, what you can do with this data. We have a change request monitoring and documentation. It's very impressive to see how you can manage change requests in a digital way. You have the possibility for governance, risk, compliance. You can execute verifications for every change that we detect. And that helps you to define your specific rules, or you can build up an information security management system with special verifications. And we offer out of the box data to manage your release and patch management, for example, or to detect products and technologies that has IT security problems, and so on and so on. We can do a lot of things with this, I say every time, gold nugget data that we have now here in Virtual.io. I hope this that helps to understand the difference between other vendors in this sector. I saw another question, what operating systems do we support, Fabian?
So we support like the most operating system like Windows, Linux. Can also import, install the one importer as a Docker container, so everywhere where Docker is available. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we looking for a customer that have needs in the AIX sector, that we can migrate our one importer approach to AIX2. If you are interested in, you are welcome to talk with us. Are there other questions?
We have another one in the chat, which regards to if you can scan networks without installing software.
Mm-hmm. No, we can't. What we can do on the network level, as a network inventory, is that we can install the one importer on a host, and we can inventory the request that comes from this host and call another host. Yeah, and that doesn't mean that we detect each request. We say only there is a communication between host A and B in the last 1 day or 2 days. Yeah, and that's why this is a difference between monitoring and inventory. And on the other thing, we have also the possibility to inventory network devices from Cisco, from Extreme, from Juniper. And there we work on a solution where we can also get the data from these devices to build up a network inventory to visualize network communications in bigger network environments.
Perfect. Do we have a real-life case related to infrastructure documenting?
Can you repeat the question?
If we have a real-life case related to infrastructure documenting.
Yeah, every time.
Yeah.
If you have an infrastructure or an application and someone change something, change a configuration file, update a technology or a product on the host, then it's every time a possible starting point of a problem, of a risk. And that's why it's very important to do it continuously. Yeah, that means we discover every minute or in a small range of time the changes and the detected instances that we found in the infrastructure. And I believe that is very important. And if you look to a cloud environment, then it's more important like a classical data center, because the cloud instances going up and down in a level of minutes. Yeah. Other questions?
See more questions.
Perfect.
No questions yet.
Then thanks a lot for your time. We have a recorded web session. We will send it via LinkedIn. Perhaps you have colleagues that are interested in. Please send the link to your colleagues. And thanks for your time. Thanks for your interest.
Perfect.